We are looking here at step 5 of the scientific method, drawing conclusions, coming up with conclusions, writing conclusions, say it how you like. Um, in the past, many times I know you've probably been asked to write a conclusion which consists of one or two sentences. What we're looking for here is something considerably more in detail. We are expecting, at the bare minimum, a paragraph. Many students actually break it into multiple paragraphs, but at least one paragraph that sums up all that you have done and what you have learned in this experiment. In that, you should talk about the steps that you went through in your scientific method. You should talk about whether or not you support your hypothesis or not. Um, this is a template that will often provide students. I would say that this is a very much so a bare bones template. So at the very top it says what we're trying to find, and here you're going to restate your question. I thought, and again, here you'd restate your hypothesis. So by breaking out the question, the hypothesis again, then we say, and then describe what you did. I'm not looking for a step-by-step detail of every single thing you did in your procedure, but just a couple sentences kind of giving the basics. It turns out, and then tell me, was your hypothesis correct or was it not? And then here's where you would put your data. Again, I don't want you to copy and paste your data table of all your data. What I'm just looking for is, does the data support your hypothesis or does it reject your hypothesis? It's important that you always talk about potential errors. So there's no such thing as a perfect experiment. What could have gone wrong? What could have been different? What could you change in the future? This last sentence here can go a lot of different directions. It's important to always try and tie the experiment to your everyday life. Whether it's talking about how does this relate to personal interests, talk about how it goes into something else that you've done, things that you want to do in the future, but somehow tied into your everyday life. So I'm going to give the example here. We have previously been talking about the egg experiment, so I'm going to kind of wrap it up with this one here. So in the experiment, we were trying to find how cooking eggs at different temperatures would affect the texture of the scrambled egg in the end. I had thought, because my wife told me she likes eggs scrambled at a very low temperature for a long time, I had thought that the low temperature would give me the best texture of scrambled eggs. To test this out, 3 eggs, cracked them up, scrambled them up, did no extra ingredients. We set the burners at 3 different temperatures, and we cooked them until there was nothing left that was running. It turns out that the temperature that was the eggs cooked at the lowest temperature had a texture that many people thought were off-putting. As a matter of fact, my wife, who said she prefers eggs cooked at low temperature, said that they were the worst ones. So personally, I didn't see a huge difference between the medium temperature and the high temperature eggs. Maybe the high temperature were a little bit more rubbery than that. We could have messed this up a little bit. I tried to get 3 eggs from the same chicken, but I do have several chickens that lay similar colored eggs, so maybe that's one control variable that might have a little bit of error in it. I did my best to make sure, so of course I used the same pan. I tried to give the pan enough time to heat up in between each trial. One time I didn't clean the pan maybe as well as I could have, so maybe that had something to do with things. There are ways, if I were to redo this again, I could set it back up and maybe make an experiment come out a little bit better. How does this apply to my personal life? Well, I cook a lot. I'm guessing that the last 6 months you guys spent at home, you probably cooked a lot at home too. This is something that we all do on a regular basis, so knowing how to cook eggs that people actually want to eat is going to be important, especially if you're not a vegan.